Start with the men. So, men, I have seen a lot of you who have high blood pressure. And when the blood pressure, again, when the blood gets to be too thick, that heart has to pump really hard. When that blood is too thick, the penis has to engorge with blood to give you that staunch hardness. But if you have blood that's too thick, you don't get that. And so, therefore, that's where impotency comes from, the blood being too thick. Now, how did the blood get to be too thick? Which will lead prostate and all this stuff is an offshoot of what I'm saying. When you're drinking alcohol or you have drank alcohol for many years, you that alcohol turns into what? Sugar, and it draws the moisture out of the blood. And when it draws the moisture out of the blood, what happens? You start to lose the staunchness of your erection to the point to where you don't feel erect at all. Also, not only does alcohol do it, sugar does it. Okay, it takes the moisture. And what else? Salt takes the moisture. And what else? Coffee can take. Now, let's talk about it. When you wake up in the morning, some of us want to drink coffee because we want energy. It's like, I got to get up in the morning, got a lot to do, let me get some coffee. I'm going to stimulate myself in that way, not knowing that when you drink coffee, it's not giving you energy, it's taking from the reserve energy that you have inside your body. You know, when you're in your arousal moment, it takes energy for that. But if you've been robbing your energy in all these different ways, then when you really need it, as time goes on, you have depleted yourself of that. So, prostate, prostate health has a lot to do with our diet. And it might not be the older generation, but I'm telling you, this marijuana is not the same. The alcohol is not the same. It has these chemicals and these heavy metals. This stuff gets inside the blood and it contaminates everything it runs through. You have to be careful of how much water you drink. Because remember, I already talked about sugar robbing the body of moisture. When I say robbing the body of moisture, what am I saying? If you say, some people say, well, I drink, 6 or 7 bottles a day, but your blood was too thick to begin with. So that 7 bottles wasn't actually hydrating you. It was actually it wasn't giving you full hydration. You still dehydrated because of what you had done in the past with the foods that you ate. And another thing is stress. Remember, when your body's under stress, everything turns off. So some of you have worked hard, been in environments, and I have to say, oversexing, oversexing is another issue that plays on the vitality of the prostate and the staunchness of a hard penis. And I hope I'm not offending anyone in this chat, but this is physiological. What they don't tell you, they just hand you pills. Here, take these pills, and this will probably help you. But we need to understand the behaviors that put us in these situations. Okay, how do you tell when the prostate needs to, you need to start working on your prostate? Well, Dr. Africa used to say, and it's in his book, African Holistic Health, the textbook of African Holistic Health, that a man's prostate starts to deteriorate at the age of 14. And how did you know your prostate was starting to deteriorate? Because when you went to go urinate, you have to, like Dr. Africa would say, wagging a dog. You got to take your penis and you got to wag it because you have excess drip of urine coming out of your penis. You should pee and stop, and there should be no drip. So that's the sign of the start of a weak prostate. So by the time we get in our 50s and our 60s and our 70s, our prostate started to deteriorate at 14. So if we were to start having the herbs for the reproductive system, for the male reproductive system, like, say, for instance, one more, more Puama, Dong Quai, red raspberry leaves, and black cohosh for the woman. Go to the next one. Next one. I'm sorry, I have a saw palmetto and pygium. Saw palmetto and pygium. Every man needs to be on saw, palmetto, and pygeum. Dr. Africa has a supplement, and it is for the reproductive system, okay? And it's called FibroCare. And if you take this, it will strengthen your prostate. He also has one for strengthening your staunch hardness, okay? But if you want to know singular herbs, you have yohimbe, maca root, and moropuama. The problem with yohimbe is if you have high blood pressure, you do not want to take a yohimbe because it makes your heart pump harder. Most of the time when I do assessments on men, and I tell them, your blood pressure is a little higher than what I'd like it to be. You have hypertension. They say, oh, no, I don't care about my high blood pressure. I just want my Jones back. I just want my Jones back. But they don't understand part of not having a Jones is the high blood pressure. And so they want to take the herbs that actually stimulate them, the yohimbes and the maca roots, and they want to take that, but they don't want to do the underlying cause of why they're having those issues in the first place. So that's just a snippet of the male health and what's going on. So we talked about the physical health. We also talked about what herbs they can take. What foods do they need to stay away from? We don't drink, just alcohol. I know they tell you to do it in moderation. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve any of us, okay? Because it's a robber. It robs from our circulation. It takes from us. And so sugar, when you have a lot of it inside of the body, can also convert to alcohol, okay? So that's why all the stuff that if you go inside of a store, for those of us online that's not holistic and don't understand, when you walk into the regular grocery store, you know that the perimeter, it's usually and they change it up, so please forgive me, but they'll have the vegetables either in the front of the store, but when you go into the center of the store, that's the stuff that will jack you up. The processed stuff, the juices, the high fructose corn syrups. These are the things, after taking it for a long period of time, is the reason why we start to fail in our reproductive health and in our heart and in our circulation and obesity. They give you a lot of choices to fail. So we have to not only educate ourselves, but we have to educate the youth of how to make a good choice when you are going into these grocery caves. Because a lot of them, they have more bad stuff in them than they have good unless you're going into a health food store. So the female, let's talk about it. Menstrual health.